this movie was a pile of ass? Hello, welcome! It's Peter Chao here. Thanks for joining me for my Wonder Woman 1984 reaction. The fact that this movie was a pile of ass. So we start off with a sequence, America Ninja Warrior style. I really like this sequence because it's very, very breathtaking. The only thing about this scene that really bothers me is that it's unnecessary. What I mean by that is this entire sequence does nothing to inform whatever happens in the rest of the movie. There's a glimpse of the golden armor used by Gal Gadot, which you've seen in the trailers, where she fights Cheetah at the end of the movie in one of the worst, most anticlimactic fights that I've ever watched, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But that's the only thing that this sequence does. This scene is actually really, really fun. The only problem with this scene is that nothing happens between this and the next action sequence. So that's what I say when this movie is boring. Literally nothing happens between this action sequence and the next action sequence aside from exposition being set up. Maybe it's a pacing issue, but I just don't understand how an action superhero comic movie can have a kick-ass action scene to start the movie and then they just overbloat it with a ton of exposition and the next action sequence doesn't happen for like another hour. And is that necessary? Hold on. So she disposes the thugs, and then she drops them from at least like a 2 to 3 story onto a cop car. Couldn't you have just left them in the mall? So then we're introduced to Kristen Wiig's character, and nothing screams loser more than if you have someone walk like this. Then we have the obligatory, oh, oops, she's a klutz.
Jake, hi, can you...
This Asian guy wants so much to be white it hurts. I mean, his collar's popped and he wears baby blue.
Can you imagine?
If only.
So many things I don't even know.
So they find this, like, dildo-shaped crystal that makes wishes come true. It's like the Make-A-Wish Foundation inside of a crystal. That's the plot of the movie. Diana Prince obviously wishes for something and we know exactly what it is because it brings back Chris Pine into the movie. But then guess what? She also makes a wish. And her wish is to be more respected, and I guess she wants power as well. And then from there we get scenes like this.
Barbara, thank God you're good in heels. Looking good.
And now the Asian guy notices her. And here we're introduced to Pedro Pascal. And he's actually very much a highlight in this movie because he is incredibly funny. He's very, very funny in this movie, and he's among the best parts of it because of his Nicolas Cage impression. And he knows that his character is written in such an over-the-top way that he was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to play him like a cokehead.
You're the oil guy.
The oil guy, yeah, I'll right. Take it.
I'll take it. His scenes are the best part of this movie. He can play subtle, like on The Mandalorian, or he can play... So then guess what? He wants the wish dildo now.
Oh gosh, don't look in there.
But guess who isn't easily manipulated? You guessed it.
TV.
Oh, I don't have a TV.
Diana Prince. And don't you just love how when people don't have a TV, they make that extra effort to make sure that you know that they don't have TVs. Okay, la-di-da, you don't have a TV. All right? Keep it to yourself, all right?
TV.
Look at this.
Oh, I don't have a TV.
Oh, I don't have a TV. Great. Good for you. Anyway, after the dinner party, Pedro's character is able to steal the crystal. And then remember earlier when Diana Prince wished for Steve Trevors to come back? Diana Prince obviously wishes for something and we know exactly what it is. Well, this is where this happens. So then for the rest of the movie, this happens.
At first, I couldn't really figure out how to get it going, so... Been eating Pop-Tarts all morning and had about 3.
You guessed it. He just is in awe at stuff that was not around when he was alive. This happens quite a bit in this movie.
Dynamite.
Tries on clothes.
Does everybody parachute?
Yes! Let's keep the shoes. That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can.
Pine is funny here, and these jokes are well executed. They're just super predictable.
I just learned that.
He even learns how to do jujitsu. So yeah, this is the guy. Who is he? I'd like to know more about this guy. You know what would have been a bold choice is if they had this guy just take over the Chris Pine role. It would have been interesting if the movie was somehow able to convince us that this new individual was now Steve Trevor. But instead, Pine returns in the role solely for the purpose that the audience knows that he's Steve Trevor. Now Pedro's in full coke mode, grant whatever wish he wants to grant, but with a price. Political power. Back to Kristen for a second. Now she's super powerful because she has wished to become a little bit more like Wonder Woman. And that means powerlifting 450. To be honest, this whole escalator thing was kind of done better in Elf. I'm not sure if I remembered to mention this, but Diana works at the Smithsonian. So she takes Steve Trevors to the planes, naturally, because he's a pilot. Not a very good one, but he takes him there anyway.
What's that?
Oh, it's okay. Just fireworks.
What do you mean? What's that? Fireworks were around when you were alive. Fireworks have been around for centuries. And then he flies them into the fireworks. Is that even a safe thing to do? Back to Kristen Wiig. All of a sudden, she kind of becomes a bit of a bitch.
Coffee? Tea?
So this is the scene right here where she gets really, really angry at this guy and just beats the living shit out of him. And the reason why she does this is because he's kind of rapey. So now that Barbara has that confidence, she then confronts this dude and beats the shit out of him, which I love. Boom! I could just watch that several times. And the reason why I have to do this is because there aren't enough scenes of Kristen Wiig beating the fuck out of rapey men. Back to Pedro, this movie does jump around a little bit, and he essentially just starts taking over entire regimes. Which brings us to only our second action sequence of the entire movie. Now, I want to just highlight this area here. Remember that scene earlier when Steve Trevor is like, hey, I can't even ride a bike?
First, I couldn't really figure out how to get it going, so...
How the fuck is he driving a car? Doesn't know what fireworks is, doesn't know how to bike, but can drive a car perfectly? Okay, this is a multi-million-dollar DC movie. Why the fuck are these children deaf? Do none of them know that there's a bunch of tanks just barreling towards them? Why don't the two on the side of the street yell at the two idiots that are in the middle of the street and go, hey, maybe it's a good idea not to play in the road? But no, this happens. Wow! Wonder Woman does this swing thing and saves them, and then proceeds to just tumble onto the ground. This is cement floor, and just do like a barrel roll with the children. I mean, at this point, that's not really that much better than getting run over by the tanks. Anyway, after the second action sequence, more exposition. So this sequence is one of my favorites of the entire movie. So in the middle of this sequence, Kristen Wiig shows up, and it looks like she's been shopping at Ardene's, because that's what happens when you get mean. Cool. And as more wishes are fulfilled, more chaos ensues. The whole theme of be careful what you wish for is the theme of the movie. But it's also a theme that's very, very patronizing. Pedro somehow manipulates the broadcast so that he's able to touch a bunch of people at the same time. Kind of like the Riddler from Batman Forever. This one's my favorite wish, though.
Wish you dropped dead!
And then she just drops dead. It's very, very funny. Anyway, the world just goes to shit, and I didn't know that you could do this. I knew that it was a truth lasso. It made people tell the truth, but I didn't know that you can lasso lightning bolts. I promised that I would talk about this horrible fight scene between a very CGI Cheetah and the golden armor. And it's just so disappointing. There's something about this CGI that is so bad. And you can tell that they've masked it in very low lighting so that we wouldn't notice. But oh yeah, we notice. Because look at how light it is. Look. It just doesn't have the same flow. It almost kind of reminds me of the end sequence of Black Panther when they're fighting on the subway or whatever, and it just looks so weightless. They had 2.5 hours to build Cheetah, make us care about her, so that when this scene arrived, we'd be like, oh, this is really badass. It's just like bad. Anyway, this whole thing lasts for like 3 minutes. Like, what is this? What is this? Anyway, she defeats Cheetah, and then she goes on to patronize everybody who was watching the movie.
The truth is beautiful. So look at this world. And look at what your wish is costing it.
It's not Gal Gadot's fault. She is a very capable actor, and there are scenes in this movie where she's able to show that. But it does look that Pedro Pascal is having an incredible time doing this.
If you want to save this world,
Why would I?
Look at that. I mean, that's just like, that's pure like Ace Ventura. Anyway, from there, everyone renounces their wish and the movie sort of ends. And then this happens. Wonder Woman becomes a Hallmark movie. This whole sequence, it reeks of reshoots, but it's almost as if they did it once they found out that Wonder Woman would be opening on Christmas Day. Even the guy's hair is not the same length as it was. And then post-credit sequence.
You miss.
It's the original Wonder Woman, and it's just weird. And that's the end of the movie. Until next time, stop drinking the haterade and start drinking the bubble tea. Ciao, motherfucker.